This is Southeast Football and the John Mumford Show.
The John Mumford Show is brought to you in part by Drury Inn, McDowell Motors South, River Eagle Distributing, who bring you Budweiser, McDowell Motors Perryville, the Cape Girardeau Chamber of Commerce, Enterprise Rent-A-Car, Kerber, Eck and Breckel, Shivelbines, Orthopedics Associates, Daniel Safety Management, Soskin Toyota, Farm Bureau Insurance Services of Poplar Bluff, and Plaza Tire.
The Southeast Missouri State Football Indians hit the road for the last time in the 1999 season to take on the Skyhawks at the University of Tennessee at Martin. The Indians won the game, their second in a row. The score was 36-7. Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Rush, and along my side, the head coach of the Football Indians, John Mumford. And, Coach, congratulations, 2 in a row.
Thanks, Chris. That's the way we're looking at it right now as far as being 2-0 and starting a streak. Try to put the other 7 behind us as quickly as possible, and nothing can do that better than get a couple wins under our belt.
Coach, tell you what, big offensive day again. Defense had some big plays as well.
Yes, they did. And, you know, Martin's struggling a little bit, Chris, and we've kind of been close to that. And I feel for Coach Marshall and their players. I thought they played extremely hard, and that's one thing. I think they showed a little bit of character out there. But I thought we were a little bit slow coming out of the chutes offensively. Once we got going, it was a lot of fun out there yesterday, and a beautiful day. And then our defense started getting after it. And one thing that was real fortunate, we were able to play a lot of guys in the court during the course of the game, particularly in the second half.
Tell you what, we have all those great highlights. Stay tuned, folks. You're watching the John Mumford Show. Southeast Missouri State Football Indians were coming off of a big win a week ago at Houck Stadium against the Bears of Southwest Missouri State. Coach, I talked to you a little bit earlier in the week, and I asked you, were the kids kind of bouncing around this week after their first win of the year?
Well, very much so. I think, you know, we were very euphoric after the game against Southwest Missouri. It had been a long time coming, and really credit, I think, to our football team's character and their makeup. I felt that, you know, a lot of people would probably, you know, jump ship or give up sometimes, as you see often in sports, but we got real good senior leadership, and guys just won't quit. And I guess the bottom line, the best term I can use for this group is that they're fighters, Chris. And to see a smile on their face, it was a good week for us. And you know, we were a little bit loose in practice this week, and I think coming off that was a pretty emotional win, and then looking at a team like Tennessee Martin, who's been struggling, it was a little hard at times to really keep the focus. Not that it was just blatant, but little periods here and there kind of bothered me. But we went without pads again last week to try to keep everybody healthy, and I think it, again, paid off in our physical makeup. And then, you know, the guys went out and did the job on the field. So it won't be the case this week. We play Eastern Illinois, a team that, you know, again, record-wise is struggling. They played 2 or 3 1A teams this year, and just it appears they got beat up and have not been as competitive as they always have been in the OVC. So it's going to take a great week of practice, and we look forward to getting after them. But we need to talk about this win a little bit right now.
Tell you what, the Indians came out on offense first, went 3 and out, but, Coach, your defense played well the entire day.
They did. You know, Chris, there was a strong wind as we look on the screen going from right to left, and, you know, in the first quarter we were into the wind, and unfortunately we suspended some players this week, and one was our punter kicker, and Bobby Bruni was forced into punting the ball into that wind early and did a nice job. Didn't go very far, but we got it off, and, you know, the defense got in there and did a fine job with it. So see Tennessee Martin punts here. He shanks it out of bounds, and we get the ball on around the 20-yard line. Hand off to KD Koleosho, and again, KD is producing real well right now. He's running the ball with authority, runs through tackles, and makes right decisions. Super job by the offensive line on the ISO, and it's kind of interesting to see where I felt we were a little bit soft at the beginning of the year, but up front, our guys are running, you know, what we call muscle plays, ISO, counter, and off-tackle power, and knocking people off the ball, and real proud of that offensive line with the way they've hung in there.
KD Koleosho, 8 carries, 57 yards on the day, and Also, this is the first start in the career at Southeast Missouri for Rashad West. We see him hitting the pass right there, 13 of 23. 1 INT yesterday, 260 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Right, and you saw it there on Rashad. We ran the bootleg. They ran their ends upfield all day, and it's just type of presence and athleticism he has. He saw it coming, and you know, was able to pull up. I don't know that I'd call that a highlight, but apparently Rashad got a little pressure. They're getting upfield, so we decided to run the screen to KD. Excellent blocking downfield by the receivers, D linemen, tight ends, and I believe he goes in from 57 yards out.
57-yard touchdown for the Indians, and now we're going to see Andy Sisney out of my hometown of Poplar Bluff coming up. And Coach, I don't know if they got him on the. I think they got him on the highlights here. You see him.
Well, he'll be on there. Andy had to take over the kicking duties this week because of suspension, and he did a real admirable job. And it's kind of scary going into the game. We took Friday and had it was like a punt, pass, and kick contest out there, and I think the kids had a little fun with it. But earlier you saw Devery Flint run the ball on the toss. Now we got Ricky Smith is in the game. Good block there. Good cuts by Ricky getting the ball upfield. And you know, one thing about our football team, we haven't laid the ball on the ground very much, Chris, and running backs and Coach Brown have done a super job emphasizing that. And you saw Ricky in the tackle there. He had good ball security and was able to hold on. Good check right here. Rashad checks off versus the blitz. And, you know, we're a little bit slow seeing that early, but once we got it going, it was a good deal. And Ricky tries to bounce that one out, and I thought that was a real nice play by the free safety.
You're going to see Rashad West try to get the ball here to John Bourne, tries to kind of force it in there, but he's trying to make a play happen there, Coach.
He is, and, you know, that was kind of dangerous. And here we got a 25-yard field goal, and here's Andy, and, you know, it's not a big arcing kick or anything, and I didn't care. It went through the uprights. And one thing he proved in practice the other day, he was pretty accurate. And I don't know if we'll see it, but as the game goes on, you can see his confidence building. You know, it's kind of like a golfer, you know, you start hitting the ball real well, then you try to jump on it. And he tried to jump on a few extra points. John Bourne's right here. He catches the ball over the middle, and John, admittedly, he got knocked kind of silly. Then somebody comes over and pats him on the head. I think he had a little sore jaw out of that, but we're going to run our off-tackle power right here to Ricky, and nice blocking up front. Freshman Ryan Roth in there at tight end and Bourne in motion. I really thought, again, Broderick Benson, he had some outstanding blocks yesterday, and as did Sturge Cumberford at the fullback position.
John Bourne, 5 catches, 118 yards. Rashad West continues with the hot hand. Indians lead at the game right now at 17-0.
They do, and again, that pass to Ricky was a checkoff. Here we get Ivan Brown in the game, a freshman running back from Gosnell, Arkansas, and Ivan caught a screen for a touchdown later in the game. It was called back due to a hold, but you know, it was good to get him in there. I don't know how to tell you on that play right there. That was all play action, and the reads were all to the left. John was in the protection, and he just, you know, he leaked out, and somehow Rashad knew he was there. So we don't coach that sometimes, Chris. Those kids get a feel for that, and you know, sometimes I think old Rashad has eyes in the back of his head. So good job right there, off tackle power play to Ricky Smith. You're going to see the blocking right here. Bourne's going to kick out. You see the down block, kick out, lead by the fullback, and you see the path right through there. Ricky runs through the tackle at the goal line. It's good leg drive, and get into the end zone. We don't make any bones about that play. We just tend to line up and run it, and try to make, you know, challenge folks to stop it if they can. So went in with about a 24-0 lead at halftime, and it was comfortable, and you know, really didn't make any adjustments. Wanted to come out early, Chris, and try to get another one on the board as soon as possible, then turn some of the younger guys and guys that haven't played much, turn them loose in the game.
Going to see a lot more defensive highlights as well coming up in the second half, as well as the leading pass interceptor in the OVC. We'll tell you more about that as we continue with this, The John Mumford Show. The Indians take on Eastern Illinois this Saturday at Houck Stadium. It ought to be a great fall day once again. Coach will talk about that game a little bit later, but we'll go back into the highlights against the Skyhawks of UT Martin. And Coach, 260 yards of total offense in the first half. Your defense was only out there for 27 plays. That's just the way the game plan's supposed to go.
That's about like it was last week, probably not to the extent, Chris, but we had 26 first downs to their 11, and we had 469 yards to their 191. So, our offense was out there, defense was on the bench quite a bit. We had 10 more plays. Would have liked to have a few more plays, but it didn't work out that way, though. But I really feel that we made the most out of the time that we were out there offensively. Ran the screen to Ricky, then we come back with a pass that was a little late in the flat, and great blocking up front. And you see KD has a real feel for that, and he hits up there. I think one thing you notice about KD, he's always leaning forward, and his legs are pumping, and he's got great quickness. So this right here, this is a seam route on a blitz checkoff, and people don't understand how hard that is and how good that was. To hit him up in there, and then KD had the presence to run the seam. And
the Rock, John Bourne, finally gets into the end zone again.
I don't know. After that first hit, there might be something to that rock. He got rocked pretty hard, but John catches the ball on the bootleg and makes a nice move and goes on in the end zone. 33
yards. The extra point attempt is good by Andy Sisney. 30-0, and the route is on.
Yep, and that wasn't a thing of beauty, but it still went through, and that's where Andy started kind of jumping on the ball a little bit. But you see some defensive highlights here in the second half. I felt we really got after it and got a little bit more pressure on. You see Joel Becker right there running. We got this is a young quarterback that Tennessee Martin has, and I was impressed with his mobility, and I really think he has a good future. Great pursuit by our defense, and I don't know, but I think this was a short yardage play right here. Now they're going to punt the football, and I believe we're going to get a partial block on.
That's a little bit later.
Yep. We punt it down, and again, you can see us right into a strong win, and we have excellent field position right there, Chris.
Coach, good job again by Donovan Levinus getting in on looked like 8 tackles yesterday. 6 tackles is what Lee Wilmot has here in the statistics. But again, Jeremy Atwell has another good game, and we talked about Becker and the other guys up front on the defense really causing some havoc back there.
They did. I thought we played the run real well, and then we didn't let any. We had a couple long passes, but nothing over the top of us. So, in all, it was a good effort defensively. They did run a little option, and here we go. We're going to screen the ball to Ivan Brown, and you're going to see him go to the zone. But again, right down around the 1-yard line, it's unfortunate. We had a hold by a wide receiver, and I told the wide receiver, I said, you owe Ivan one there. Here's Rashad. He drops back to pass, and blindside deal there. No, that's just those instincts. It's hard to coach sometimes, and feel real fortunate to have him here. So he got in for the touchdown. We have a timeout, and see Coach Sabatini talking to the linebackers there to make some adjustments. And here goes Ivan Brown again up in on the looked like the counter play. And like I said, you see Jay Eckert in there. You see some of our young linemen in. We got Weave in the game here late because Leslie hadn't caught a pass yet and wanted to get a catch to him. So, in all, it was a game that we needed to have to get in there and play a lot of people. And, we got a huge game coming up this week. And, this game really has no significance in the OVC but for us it does. I think, we all talked about, this game that we played against Eastern Illinois last year, Chris, and how emotional it was. And if revenge can be used, I'll use it. I don't care. We're going to have to execute very well, but we're going to have to erase that memory of that game last year, and the only way to do that with Eastern Illinois coming up is to beat them right here at Houck and do so convincingly.
Tell you what, Coach, another good all-around game by the offense and the defense. Total team effort, and one thing standing on the sidelines yesterday, they've got that swagger about them. Just a little bit of a swagger now, some confidence starting to build in these guys.
Yeah, that's a Jimmy Johnson term, I guess, that, for confidence. And, we converted 67% of our third downs again, which was excellent. One thing I'm proud of, Chris, we had one interception, one turnover that was kind of an ill-advised late throw over the middle, but we only had 2 penalties for 23 yards. And that shows me we're executing well. We're playing pretty good, pretty disciplined football, and doing the things not to hurt ourselves that was so prevalent early in the season.
Tell you what, some of the guys up front had another good game yesterday. Those are members of the offensive line. We'll give you the Indian feature as we return after this commercial break on this, The John Mumford Show. One of the greatest sportscasters in history was a guy by the name of Keith Jackson, and he coined a term for guys up front, offensive linemen, known as the Big Uglies. This week's Indian feature is given to you by Becky Ostermeyer.
The offensive line is the foundation of the offensive team. This year's offensive line has a healthy mix of new and old faces. Offensive line coach Ron Hudson explains the importance of having veterans.
Playing offensive line at this level is not something that a freshman can usually come in and do right away. Normally it takes a lot of time, preparation in the weight room and on the practice field to prepare yourself to play. It's such a physical and mental game at this level for offensive linemen that it's very, very hard for young guys to come in and play. We've been very fortunate to have 3 senior leaders that have done a tremendous job.
Senior right tackle Chris Kiefer thinks being a veteran helps provide experience.
I think our experiences being a veteran has helped out the younger guys. We got the game experience being out there, and we can help them in a game situation.
Chad King, senior left guard, likes to help out the new guys when the going gets tough.
Lots of times the younger guys may not quite understand when the coach explains something to them, so we can kind of explain it in our terms, a little more on their level. So we can help out like that. Plus, when we're out there and the bullets are flying maybe during a scrimmage or especially during the game, they get a little wide-eyed. We calm them down and help them out and let them know that we're going to be there to help them if anything goes wrong.
Senior left tackle Ian Walters helps by explaining new techniques.
Sometimes when coach tries to explain a technique to a player, we could better help explain that technique through practice, because we've done this so much. And it helps out in the game a lot, because whenever we're playing the game, sometimes they're not used to, we see a lot of different things in the game that we might not see in practice, so we kind of help them out with that and help them to relax when they're in there.
Coach Hudson contributes much success to the seniors taking the new guys under their wings.
They've taken some of the younger guys that we've had that have had to play a lot because we've had some injuries. They've worked with them during practice. They meet with them. They watch film with them a little bit and talk to them about what they should be looking for. When we're out there during the game and during practice, they're helping them with their calls if there's a problem. They kind of hold their hand a little bit as they get out there. They've really allowed us to use some of our younger players in some key situations because they're kind of with them and put them into situations where they can hold their own now.
Kiefer takes on a new challenge of being right tackle.
It was a hard change to adapt to at first, but as camp went on and through spring ball some, it grew on me, and it's a lot more comfortable now than what it was then.
He is already a candidate for postseason honors.
You do your job on the field and work hard as a team, and the individual honors will come, and that'll take care of itself. Do everything as a whole.
King, an all-conference and all-district defensive lineman in high school, is an offensive guard in college.
It's difficult just coming to college play a defensive lineman, because our defense here is different from what I played in high school, so there's a little transition there, and then they decided I was too fat and ugly, so they kicked me down the hill to play offensive line, which I'm happy I did. I rolled down the hill quite well and fit in right down there in my little left guard spot. I enjoy it there. I like it a lot better. And I think I've done all right.
Chad contributes that success to technique.
It don't really matter how strong you are. It just kind of comes down to technique, but its most strength really has, it's just a little bonus. It does not, in my opinion, it doesn't have as much to do with it as technique does.
Walters has played offensive tackle from the beginning of his career.
Offensive line is very technique-oriented, so I've had a lot of experience playing at tackle and going against the various techniques that the defensive line will do. So I think I have a better fit for that.
In 1996, he missed the entire season with a broken leg.
I think that helped a lot, because it helped me to regain some strength that I previously did not have, and then it also helped me mentally to prepare for the upcoming season. It was probably the best thing that happened to me.
With the season nearing its end, the offensive line will continue to build on experience. For the John Mumford Show, I'm Becky Ostermeyer.
Coach, we take a look at a good feature there by Becky, and tell you what, Coach Hudson has this group playing better and better, and it all starts up front.
It does, and you know, I think that's probably we've talked a lot about Rashad, and there's no question Rashad has created a spark in our offense, but it all starts up front, and I think these guys have really evolved into a real fine unit under Ron. And you know, Ron's a guy that, you know, you either do it right or you don't do it, and he's an in-your-face type coach. And I think you know, these guys have really stood up, and you know, they understand that he's trying to make them better, and I think you know, it's really paying off for them a great deal. And those, you know, Chad and Chris are two local products from Fredericktown and Perryville, and then Ian is from Archbishop Shaw High School in New Orleans. And all three have overcome a lot of things. Out of high school, Chad King had a knee injury, was a walk-on, came into our program, has now, you know, been a starter for 2 years. And Ian at one time didn't know football was his deal, and we're real fortunate to keep him around. And Chris has overcome some injuries, as you know, all offensive linemen eventually have. So great leadership out of those guys, and real proud of them for sticking with it, and it's really paying off for them right now.
Tell you what, we will ask Coach Mumford about next week's opponent, Eastern Illinois, in another OVC game at Houck Stadium at 1 o'clock. We'll take a timeout and come back and talk with the head coach of the football Indians on this, The John Mumford Show. One o'clock this Saturday. With the weather the way that it's been, Coach, ought to be a great atmosphere for football. Your team's been very entertaining the past 2 weeks. Going to try to run the streak to 3-0.
That's the plan, Chris, and like I said, that's you know, after our win against Southwest, that's something that we talked about. And you know, yesterday there were some big games in the OVC. We finished the season a couple weeks after the Eastern Illinois game with Tennessee State, who most likely has won the OVC title, and they're
ranked second in the nation too.
That's right, they are, and they beat Eastern Kentucky yesterday. Murray beat Tennessee Tech, and then Western Kentucky really got after Eastern Illinois about 38-7. So we need to take care of this game, then we get a week off, and as coaches we plan on hitting the road and probably going out to St. Louis local area and some to the junior colleges that we can get to. It'll be a good week for our players to get in the weight room and recuperate, and you know, we need to be at full tilt when the Tennessee State team comes in here. But we got business first. We got to get this third one in a row, and it's going to be real tough. And there's some memories from this game last year, as I alluded to earlier, that I think we can carry with us and put to use on the field emotionally. As long as we control that and are productive on the football field as far as executing the game.
We talked about Rashad West. We talked about Katie Coliosho, Ivan Brown, Ricky Smith, all the offensive tools, the defensive tools with Jeremy Atwell, Donovan Levinas, Joe Becker, the guys up front playing very well. And also, you got a D-back right now that's leading the league in interceptions.
Brian got another one the other day, and you know, Brian Hinton's been a joy to coach and have in our program. Leader by example, and as fine a young man as you ever run across. And everything that he does, he deserves, because he's worked hard for it, Chris.
Ought to be a good time this Saturday, Eastern Illinois. That's going to be a hotly contested game and kind of a rivalry that you wouldn't think would be there, but because of last year's game, there might be a fire burning here that's going to last in the OVC for a number of years.
Yeah, I think so, and you know, that game last year, we dug ourselves in a real deep hole, came back, we were in position to win, and you know, again, a real tremendous game from a spectator standpoint, but as far as our football team, we just came out on the very short end of it. So we're going to, you know, apply that in this week in practice. I think we came out of the Martin game unscathed injury-wise, so we need to get after it and really do a good job of preparation this week.
Tell you what, folks, we hope to see you at Houck Stadium this Saturday at 1 o'clock. For John Mumford, I'm Chris Rush, and thanking you for watching The John Mumford Show.